People First podcast is a show presented by people with learning disabilities for our friends and community. We talk about issues that are important to us and interview interesting people to find out new information. This is our way to make a difference and have our voices heard.
Welcome to the People First podcast. Today we are happy to introduce to us we also service 23 Magpies. So we wanted to talk to her also to find out more. What did you say, Diane?
Thanks, Rebecca. It's so lovely to be on your podcast.
Can you introduce yourself and explain what your job is?
So I'll just introduce myself. My name's Karen, and my job has got an unusual name and not many people know what it is. So the name of my job is End of Life Doula. So if I just explain what that is. So I work with people who want to start thinking about and talking about what might happen when they get to the end of their life. So I'm not a doctor or a nurse. I don't do anything medical, but I help people with practical things. I help people around their emotions and how they're feeling about the end of their life. And I offer some spiritual support. So for people who aren't religious or don't go to church, but still want to feel something kind of important about life and death, I can talk to them about those kinds of things as well. So that's really what a doula does. We support people towards the end of their life with all the things that are going to be important to them, so they can feel peaceful, calm, hopefully not frightened, and we can make that time in their life as good as possible.
What does tending Magpies?
Okay, so when I was thinking about how to tell people about my work, what I found out was when I told people I was an end-of-life doula, nobody had ever heard of that job. So I thought, okay, I need a different name for my work that is going to help people remember. And I don't know if you know the children's rhyme, which is about magpies, which goes 1 for sorrow, 2 for joy, 3 for a girl, 4 for a boy. Yeah, it's a very, very old rhyme. Children have been saying that rhyme for hundreds and hundreds of years, but it used to have a different version. So an older version of the rhyme is 1 for sorrow, 2 for mirth, 3 for a funeral, and 4 for a birth. So 3 magpies used to be connected to funerals. So, and a funeral is like the ceremony we have when someone's died to remember them. So I just really liked this idea that 3 magpies used to represent death, really. And so what I do is I look after people towards the end of their life and when they have died. So I use the name 3 Magpies, and tending just means looking after, taking care of. So I use that. And because people now ask me what tending 3 magpies means, it means I get to tell them that story. And I think that's easier to remember than the word doula, which is what my job is actually called. So that is why my job, or why I call my work, tending 3 magpies.
There's also a northeast connection to the Magpie as well, isn't there? I'm a devout Newcastle United supporter. My family are all from the northeast, so there's that link as well.
Magpies in Halifax.
And there's an organisation called Magpies in Halifax, yeah, that you go to, don't you, Rebecca?
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're really beautiful birds. They're really easy to notice because they're big and they're black and white as well. So a lot of people know what magpies are and what they look like, so it's really quite visual.
Who do you support in your work?
So I work with lots of different people. So I work with people who are fit and well, quite young, but who want to do some thinking and planning about what they might like at the end of their life. So I can help them to think about what plans they might want to make and who they might want to tell about those plans. I also work with people who are more unwell, who have maybe been told that they are ill and the doctors aren't going to be able to cure them. So one day they will die from their illness. And for those people, they just know that the end of their life is probably a bit closer, and they will be facing that in the next few weeks or months or years. So they might want to do different things to make sure that they feel ready and prepared. And I also work with people after someone's died, the people who love them. We feel quite sad, might feel a bit confused or angry sometimes, and those feelings we kind of call grief. So I work with people who are feeling grief after someone they love has died. So that's kind of like the three groups of people that I work with.
What does bereavement mean?
So bereavement, that's quite a hard word, isn't it? And all bereavement means is that somebody who is important to you has died. So it's just a very complicated word to describe a situation where someone has died and the people who are left behind who are sad about that is what bereavement means.
Because my mum passed away in 2018.
Okay, so at that time you would have been bereaved. You would have been experiencing bereavement, but grief as well, so it's just a complicated word to explain that situation where when someone has passed away who was important to you, all those feelings and experiences that you're going through.
Can you help someone who is feeling grief or sadness after someone dies?
I think there's different things for different people, but one thing I find lots of people like to do is talk about the person who has died. But sometimes our friends and family can be a bit afraid to say their name or to talk about them in case we get upset. And I think that can leave us feeling quite sad and lonely because we want to talk about our person that's died. So my dad died in January last year, and I love talking about him. It does make me sad, and sometimes I cry, but that's okay. That just means that I still love him. And so I think sometimes it can just be really nice for the person to be allowed to talk about them, to remember, to talk about the funny stories, to talk about the things that we loved about them, to talk about the things that we miss, talk about days that are hard. So I think just letting someone talk and being happy to chat to them about their person who's died can really help. And then I think everybody's different. So if I was working with somebody who was sad after someone had died, I would ask them, what do you think might help you? What are you struggling with? So, you just shared with me that your mum died in 2018. Is that right? So, yeah. So what, can I ask you a question? What, was there anything that helped you during that time?
My sister helped me.
Mm-hmm. Just to being there, knowing what you were going through, because she was probably feeling the same.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you're still emotional now, and that's absolutely fine. You'll never stop loving your mum, and it'll never stop hurting. But it doesn't hurt that badly every single day anymore, I would guess. It's just when you talk about it.
Yeah.
But that just means that you love her so much, and you miss her.
It's 8 years now.
6 years, I know, it's a long time, isn't it? But sometimes it can still catch you off guard and make you cry. It's the same with my dad, I never quite know when the tears are going to come.
Yeah.
But that's okay. I think that's a really important message, that people shouldn't feel that they're not allowed to cry or get upset.
Why is it important to talk about end of life and grief?
Okay, so I think they're two different things. So why it's important to talk about end of life, I think, is so everyone has the chance to think about what is important to them. So for some people, it might be really important that if possible, they would like to be at home at the end of their life. For other people, they might prefer to be in hospital because they might feel safer there. But unless we talk about it, we won't know what's important to people. You know, some people at the end of their life like everything to be really calm and quiet. Other people like music playing. Some people like lots of visitors. Some people like only just one special person to visit. So unless we talk to people and ask them, we'll never know how to do the right thing at the end of their life. So I think it's really important to have those conversations. And then why is it important to talk about grief? I think 'cause if we don't talk about it, people can feel very lonely and alone with those feelings. I think you can feel like you're the only person that feels like this, that has gone through this. And that's not true. Everybody in life will have people they love who die, so we will all feel grief at some time. But unless we talk to each other about it, about how we're feeling, we can feel very, very alone. And that can be very bad for our mental health. You know, it can make us feel very sad. It can stop us wanting to go out. It can stop us enjoying life, really. And that's not great. So I think it's really important that we talk about how we're feeling. And then if we do need help, the people around us can help with that.
Some people find it hard to talk about how do you help people feel safe and comfortable.
So I'm always really careful in starting a conversation because not everybody is in a good place to talk about end of life, death, and grief. So I never want to force them to do it. I don't want it to bring it up as a surprise and catch them off guard. So I'd always think about where we were. You know, if we were in a busy place, in a pub or a cafe, that might not be a good place because if somebody got upset, they might feel a bit embarrassed. So I might make sure we are in a quieter place, in a private place. And I would always ask them, I would say, is it okay for me to ask you about your mum who died? Does that feel okay today? Is it okay for me to ask you about your end of life plans today? Or are you not really feeling like talking about it? And it's really up to the person to say, yeah, I feel okay having that conversation today, or saying, actually, no, I can't do this today. I can't talk about that today. So I think it's really important that people feel in control and that they can stop the conversation at any time. I think it's always good to have some tissues with you in case we do get upset, because then we can kind of dab our tears dry. And I think as well, using the words that people are comfortable with. So Jason, you talked about your mum passed away. So I would use those words with you because that's how you describe it. Somebody else might talk about their sister who died. And if that's the word they used, I would use that word as well. Because sometimes like the words are really important and some of them feel more gentle. So I think saying somebody passed away feels a little bit more gentle than saying that somebody died. So it's very much up to the person how they like to talk about their experiences. And also, it can be absolutely exhausting to talk about this. So you might finish this podcast today and actually feel really tired because it's quite hard work processing difficult emotions. So I would always say to people, you know, what are you going to do next? How are you going to look after yourself? Have you got something nice planned for this afternoon? Are you busy tonight? Because you might just feel really tired. So I just encourage people to like just be aware of that and think about looking after themselves as well.
Can people talk to you online? How do that work?
So I can work online with people. I prefer to be in the same room with people because I think it's easier to understand how someone's feeling if they're in the same room. And I think that makes the conversations that we have easier, but that's not always possible. And so to make sure I can help people, I can work online with them. And the way that would work would be a bit like we're doing now. We'd have a video call. We'd agree a time when it was good for us to meet, and we'd agree what we were going to talk about. I might send things to them first. They've had a chance to look at some information. I might send them 2 questions to think about so they can come a little bit prepared for what we're going to talk about. And then I'd sort of encourage them to maybe have a drink with them, maybe have a snack with them, and we try and make it quite casual and social online and just have that conversation, whatever we were going to talk about, whether it was making some plans for the end of life or whether it was talking about their experiences of grief. And as our time was coming to an end, I would then start to check in with the person and see how are they feeling. I might say we've got 10 minutes left, so can I just check how you're feeling? It's been quite emotional. What are you going to do next? Is there anything you're still worried about? Is there anybody around that you can talk to over the next couple of days if you're worried or if you've got things on your mind? Just really checking that they are okay for the call to finish. So it's not as easy, I think, working online because it is all quite emotional. So I'd much rather do it face to face. But I will work online if that's what the person needs at the time.
Sometimes myself, someone needs support with grief.
Right, well, I think this is a really good question because it's a really hard question, because I don't think there always are signs. So sometimes we have to ask, and I think sometimes we're a bit afraid of asking because we don't want to upset somebody. But I think it's absolutely fine to say, Jason, I'll use you as an example again. I think it's fine if I know you well to say to you, Jason, how are you feeling since your mum passed away? Because actually you might be feeling all kinds of things, but if somebody doesn't ask you, you might not want to tell them, or you might not think to tell them, or you might not think they even want to know. So I think it's okay to ask someone really gently how they're doing after the person that they love died, because I think we can hide it really well. We don't go around crying our eyes out all the time, do we? I think quite a lot of the time we might do that in private, but we might not show anybody else that we're feeling that sad or that hurt. And then I think sometimes the signs might be just that the person isn't doing great. So they might not want to come out down the pub on the Friday night, which they might always do. And then all of a sudden, after the person they love has died, they might stop doing that. So you might notice you're not seeing them out and about as much, or they might just not seem like themselves. They might seem sad, or actually they might seem really angry or frustrated, and you're not really quite sure why. Well, that can all be signs of grief after someone's died. I think as well, sometimes we can feel really unwell. We might feel sick. We might stop sleeping very well. So there might be like physical signs. So, there can be lots of different ways that grief can, we can experience grief. And they might not be the ones that you expect. So for me, I think it's always good to ask, say, how are you doing? How are you feeling today? Because I know it's been a hard time for you since your friend died.
What is the best part of working with any Magpies?
I think it's that every day my work is different. So it's really exciting for me today because part of my work is doing this podcast with you. Yesterday, I was at an event. There's going to be a festival in Gateshead, a festival of compassion, which is all about grief. And it was the launch event of that. So I got to go along to this lovely event yesterday and talk to lots of people, including the Mayor of Gateshead, about my work. And there were lots of other people there who do work around end of life and grief. So that was very exciting. Next week, I'm delivering a training session for people who want to know more about funeral planning. So every single day, my work is different, which does make it interesting and exciting. And it's quite creative because I like to try and do lots of fun, interactive, creative sessions because I don't think anybody wants to sit around doing quite a depressing, boring session talking about these things. I think it's always more memorable if we can do something that's kind of fun and creative, but still learn everything that we need to. So that's the best thing about my work.
Well, my aunties has passed away this year.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. And how are you feeling?
All day.
And that's an important part of it, isn't it? That it's not a linear thing, is it? Sometimes you feel good, sometimes you feel less good. That's all part of it. But over time, the ups and downs even themselves out, don't they?
Yeah, thanks for sharing that, Rebecca. See, you're just showing a great example of it's okay to say, you know, my auntie passed away and sometimes I don't feel great. And other people hearing you say that will maybe help them to share their experiences of grief as well.
That's all the time we have for today. We would like to say a big thank you again to Karen for coming on the show and talk about tending 3 magpies. Talking about grief is very important, so it's good you support people to have those talks. Do you have anything you'd like to add before we end the show?
I think just to say thank you so much. It's a brilliant opportunity for me to talk a bit about my work and to really encourage people to have these conversations with their friends, with their family, with the people that support them, because I believe everyone can make their own plans for the end of their life. We just need to do it in an accessible way. And everybody, I think, has the right to say what they would like at the end of their life. So thank you so much for having this as a topic on your podcast. It's really important.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If you enjoyed, follow us on social media to learn more about what we do and our podcast interview. You can find us on YouTube, Facebook, X and Instagram by searching for the People First Podcast. Thanks for listening and we will see you next time.